All right, good evening, students. I hope that you can hear me out there. Looks like we've got several students here live with us. My name is Mr. Rich. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and today I'm going to go over an ACT practice test in advance of the actual test that's going to be given this coming Saturday. So I'm also going to give you a few tips on things that you can do right before the test to best increase your chances of maximizing your score. So I'll do a little bit of that, but mostly the objective tonight is to have you watch me work through a practice test, and I'm going to be thinking out loud as I work through it. And I'm going to go pretty fast like I would do if I was actually taking the test. I will use a timer. I'll show a timer up on the screen, and I'll stop though every 10 questions. So I'll do the first 10 and we'll pause the timer, and then I'll give any of you that are here a chance to ask questions about those 10 problems that I just did. All right, so that's what we'll do. That's the main thrust of tonight. If you are here, if you would maybe give me a thumbs up so that I know that you're here, or you could say hi in the chat. That would be awesome if you could do that for me. If you can't hear me, if there's a problem with my audio or it's too low or too loud, leave a comment in there for me as well. Okay, so let's do a few things here. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here. I'm going to do a couple at the beginning and then do a couple at the end. So let me cover a few things here first. I want to talk first about getting ready tomorrow, packing up, making sure that you've got everything that you need as you head off to the test center on Saturday. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you have is your ID, of course, that you've got that with you, that you've got your pass to get into the exam. You also want to pack pencils, right? So you don't want to just take one pencil or a mechanical pencil. You want to have multiple pencils. I would say at least 5. Somebody might try to bum a pencil off of you that's sitting next to you or whatever. You want to have extra pencils for sure. And let's see, what else do you want to have? Of course, you're going to be taking your calculator. Most of the students that I work with are using the TI-84 or maybe the TI-83. A few that I know are using the TI-Nspire. So make sure you have that fully charged. If you've got one of the TI-84s that has batteries and you haven't changed them in the last month, I would go ahead and put fresh batteries in, and also have some extra batteries in your backpack or your pocket just in case. Let's see what else I wanted to tell you to pack. Some snacks, right? So you want to be sure to have some snacks with you. I think officially they say you're not supposed to bring any food or drink, but I would have some snacks that you could eat if you're on a break or something or whatever. But that's kind of what I would make sure that I have for the test. Okay, and then secondly, I wanted to talk about getting a good night's sleep, right? And I'll talk a little bit about what prep you can do before the test tomorrow, leading up to in terms of studying for the test. But you definitely don't want to be staying up late studying or working problems. Get a good night's sleep. Eat a decent breakfast. Don't eat a breakfast that's high in sugar, so you get a sugar crash, later in the morning. But definitely, you do not want to go in there dragging and tired. You want to have a really good full night's sleep. Okay, so that's about it for that. I got about 3 other tips that I'll give you after we get done through the test. All right. Let me get this set up here so that you can see what it is that I am working on. So give me a moment to get this set up. All right, we are going to take a look at my screen. So if you're one of my students and I've been coaching you getting ready for the ACT, then this probably looks familiar to you in Microsoft OneNote, but that's what I'm going to be working on. Now, the test that I'm going to be actually doing today is the test that we're going to work on. Let me tell you, It is it's going to be the ACT practice test from this I believe was March 2022. It's test number Z08. If you took the test in March, there's a good chance this is the test that you took. I believe there were 2 versions of it at least, but this is one that they had released, and it's the one that I'm going to do. Now, I have looked over the problems. I haven't worked this like in its entirety. So this thing, it's not like it's a totally fresh test that I haven't seen before, but it's something I definitely have not spent a lot of time poring over and working solutions on. So I'm kind of looking at this like I would if it were a fresh test. Let me pull up my timer because I do want to set a timer. And let's make sure that we can keep this thing on top. And let's minimize this thing. I think we can do it compact. Yeah, there we go. But I need to start it first. So, all right, so here we go. I am going to start section 2. And if you've got questions, right, if you see something that I'm doing here, and you're not sure what it was I did on the problem. Now, these first 10 problems are going to be the easy ones, right? This thing gets more difficult as you go through the test. If you've taken this before, you know that is definitely true. The last 20 are going to be, on average, harder than the first 20. Not to say that there's not going to be some easy ones somewhere in those last 20 for you, but that's just kind of in general going to get harder as you go through it. So these, I expect to get done with these a little faster, right, than I would be getting on the last 20. So on average, I should be able to do these pretty quick. So let's get started. I am going to start the timer. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. All right. So here is my first question. And my timer didn't stay on top. Let's see if we can get that to stay on top. I thought I had it on top. Always on top. There we go. All right. So on Monday, Elsa put $40 in her empty lockbox. Each following Monday, Elsa will deposit an additional $18 in her lockbox. Which of the following expressions gives the number of dollars in Elsa's lockbox after Elsa's deposit W weeks from now? So she's putting in 40 initially and then going to put in 18 each week. So that would be 40 plus 18 times the number of weeks. So I'm going with A on that one. All right, number 2, Raheem made a down payment of $250 at a local store for an HD TV that cost $880 with tax included. He arranged to make 8 equal monthly payments to the store to finish paying for the HD TV. Given that he paid no additional fees, how much was Raheem's monthly payment? Okay, so he owed $880, but he took $250 off of that. So that's going to leave him $630 that are left, and he's going to do that in 8 equal payments. So 630 divided by 8. I think what I'll do is bring out my calculator and quickly do that, and do 630 divided by 8, 78.75. I am going with F and keep moving on. What is 25% of 50% of 80%? Well, of means multiplication, so this is just 0.25 times 0.50 times 80. Now I should be able to do this in my head here. So half of 80 is 40, and 0.25 times 40, 0.25 is 1/4. 1/4 times 40 is 10. I like 10 as my answer there. Number 4, in scientific notation, they want me to convert this into scientific notation. That means I need to move my decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4 places. I moved it to the right 4 places, and the number is a small number. So that means my exponent would be negative 4.1 times 10 to the minus 4. I like that answer very much. All right, let's go to number 5. What's the value of 5xy squared when x is 2 and y is negative 4? This is just plug it in here. So I'm going to do that. Negative 4 squared. This is going to turn positive. So that's going to be 16. 16 times negative 2 is a negative 32. So that's 5 times negative 32. I'm liking negative 160 here. 5 times negative 32. So I'm doing this mental math here and not using my calculator to slow me up. What's the value of the absolute value of negative 8 minus the absolute value of 7 minus 33? Well, the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. There is a minus sign. 7 minus 33 would be a negative 26. But then I have to take the absolute value of that, which would turn that into a positive 26. 8 minus 26 looks to be a negative 18. Number 7. Given that a to the third times a to the k equals a to the ninth for all real numbers a, what is the value of k? Well, when I multiply like bases, that means I add the exponents. So this has to be a to the 3 plus k equals a to the ninth. And if my equation has two of the same base on either side, then that would mean that the only way the equation could be true is if the exponents were the same. So k has to be a 6. Number 8, what's the least common multiple? Least common multiple of 20, 30, and 130. Well, let's see. Least common multiples look like this: 20, 40, 60, 30, 60, 90, 130, 260. So there's no way 60, 78, and 180 could be right. If 780 was the least common multiple, it would have to be divisible by all three of those numbers. And it is divisible by 20. I'm just going to check this on my calculator here. I'm going to say 780 divided by 30. Divided by 30. Yep. And then I'm going to take 780 and see if it's divisible by 130. I believe it is. It is. Okay. So 780, that's the least common multiple, J. Number 9, f of x equals 2x squared plus 6x minus 7. What's f of negative 3? That's an x value. It wants me to plug that in. And so I am going to plug that in. Minus 7, 9, that's 18. Minus 18, minus 7. Okay, let me make sure that's right. I want to double check this, right? 9. So that looks like negative 7, but I want to make sure that I didn't. So negative 3 squared is a positive 9. 9 times 2, 18. 6 times negative 18. Yeah, so I like negative 7. All right, number 10. In the figure below, line BE and CF intersect at point A. So they're telling me that this is a line and CF is a complete line right there. Points G and D are in the interiors of angles BAF and CAE respectively. Yes, some angle measures are given. What's the measure of BAG? I need to find that angle measurement. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's do that. Well, what I could do is I'm going to use vertical angles. Because I know that these two are lines and they intersect, that has to be 64 degrees. Okay, so now that means then that 64 plus 32 plus the angle that I am looking for has to be equal to 180. This is 96 plus x equals 180. All right, I'm going to do this on my calculator. 180 minus 96 is 84. I like x equals 84 very much. And that is H right there. All right, I'm going to stop the timer and take a pause here. So I did my first 10 questions in a little under 7 minutes right here. And notice something here, students, as I'm working through this. I'm not doing very many things solely in my head, right? I am writing things down and trying to make sense visually as to what's going on, right? Even here, I could have just done this math here, 880 minus 250. I could have done that in my head, but no, I'm going to write the things down and do them in my own space so that I minimize my chances of mistakes. Okay, even here, I could have divided by 2. Dividing by 8 is dividing by 2 and then by 2 and then by 2 again. I didn't want to do that. I used my calculator on that one. Even here, right? By writing this out as an expression, I think, at least for me, it's easy to see that, yeah, this is half of 80, which was 40, and then 40 times 0.25, that's 1/4. That got me to the 10 pretty quick. All right, so I'm looking over at comments. I don't know if you guys have access to the comments. I'm going to put a comment out here. Hi, this is Mr. Rich. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's my comment there. Any questions before I get started and do the next 10 problems? Okay, so my pacing, I'm ahead of schedule here on my pacing. I've got 60 questions, 60 minutes. So it's 1 minute per question. I want to be a little faster on my first half of the test to give me more time per question on the second one. I haven't really run into any problem that I would recommend like skipping, for me anyways. For you, it might be different. If you're my student, I've been coaching you, telling you that it's a good idea to do a 2-pass system through the test where you do all the questions first that you know how to do, and then you recognize a method to solve them, and you can do them fairly quickly within 30 seconds. Okay, if you can't, or you don't know what to do, skip it and move to the next question and come back at the end. All right, let's scroll down here. See if I can get where I need to be here. Let me remove that banner. That would be pretty helpful. Let's do that. Moving down to number 11, and I am going to restart the timer. Here we go. Number 11 says that Salma attended a concert on Friday. She arrived at the concert hall at 5:46 p.m. and left the concert hall at 11:27 p.m. How long was she at the concert? Okay. I'm going to say that she got there at 5:46. Then she went to 6 o'clock, and that was how many minutes? That would have been 14 minutes right there to get her to 6 o'clock. And then she went to 11 o'clock, which was 5 hours from 6 to 11. But then she went to 11:27. And so that was an additional 27 minutes. So these are 5 hours and these are minutes. So it looks like 5 hours, but 14 and 27, 41. I'm liking B here, 5 hours and 41 minutes. All right, number 12, given that X is less than or equal to 3 and X plus Y is greater than or equal to 5, what is the least value that Y can have? Well, for Y to be the smallest value in this inequality, I want X to be the biggest value. And the biggest value that X could be is 3. So I'm going to go with 3 plus Y greater than or equal to 5. So Y would have to be greater than or equal to 2. That would be the least value, 2. Okay, I hope that's right. I think that's right. Number 13. In the figure below, parallel lines L and M are intersected by transversal N, forming the numbered angles. Which of the following congruent statements is not necessarily true? All right, now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make this a more severe slant to help me out, and I'm going to try to ignore that one. Okay, now angle 1, does angle 1 have to be congruent to 5? Yeah, those are corresponding angles, so that does necessarily have to be true. That definitely has to be true. 2 congruent to 8, those are alternate exterior, so that would be true. Does angle 3 have to be congruent to 5? Yeah, those are alternate interior. 4 to 7, 4 to 7. No, those would not be. That does not necessarily have to. They could be true if it was a right angle, but not necessarily. Now, let me check 6 and 8. Yeah, of course, 6 and 8 are vertical angles, so that has to be true. So I'm going with D there. What's the largest possible product for 2 even integers whose sum is 50? Well, this is kind of a trick that you need to know, I guess. There is an algebra solution to it. I'm not going to say there's not, but I just know that I want to get numbers that are as close as possible together, even integers. So that would be like 24 24 and 26 would be two even integers whose sum, if I get those as close as possible, which that would be as close as possible, that has to be the largest product. So I'm going to multiply that on my calculator, 24 times 26, and I get 624. So I'm going with K on that. Let me make my calculator a little bigger for you guys. There we go. All right, number 15. The blood types of 150 people are determined for a study. The results show that 62 people have type O, 67 type A, 15 type B, and others have type AB. All right, I'm going to go O, A, B, and AB. I'm going to write these numbers down. There's 62. That is 67. That is 15. And the rest are AB. So there's a total of 150. So I'm going to add these together. That is 129 plus 15, 139, 140. 129 plus 15 would be 144, which means 6 people have type AB. Let me make sure that that's right. See, I'm going to even do this on my calculator. I do not want to mess this up. So 62 plus 67 plus 15 plus 6 is, 150 people. What is the probability that this person, I'm selecting one person at random, that they have either type O or AB, right? Or is addition. Type O is 62. There's 6 here. That is out of 150. So that's 68 out of 150. Obviously, I need to reduce that. That would be divided by 2, 34 divided by 2. I'm going with E, 34 out of 75. 16. If x plus y equals 26 and x minus y is 14, then what's y? This is a system of equations, so I'm going to stack these. All right. And I'm going to add, and I'm going to get 2x is equal to 40, which would mean that x is equal to 20, but I don't want x. I want y. So if x is 20, then y is 6. Let me make sure. I'm going to double check that and make sure that would be right. 20 and 6, yes, and then 20 minus 6, 14. Yeah, I like that answer. Number 17, the chart below shows the possible combinations of numbers that can land face up when two numbered cubes, those are called dice, I guess, are rolled at the same time. Each combination is equally likely. Yeah, so this is just showing you all the different outcomes when you roll 2 dice in a game. What's the probability of rolling the numbered cubes so that the sum of the numbers that land face up is 8? They're saying, what's the probability of getting an 8 or higher, meaning a sum of the 2 die? Well, I just have to find out where the 8s are, at least 8, right? So 8 or greater are all of these. That's 8. And then the rest of these right here. So I just need to count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And there's 36 outcomes, right? This is a 6 by 6. 15 out of 36. I need to reduce that. Dividing by 3, I get 5 over 12. I'm liking A a lot. Right. 18. The graph of the function y equals the square root of minus log base 10 of x is shown in the standard xy coordinate plane below. So they're giving me the function, but they're also giving me the graph of the function. The function is defined for values of x strictly between which of the following pairs of numbers. Well, it looks like this is a vertical asymptote, and the function comes down and stops at 1. So it looks like it's between 0 and 1. Yeah, I mean, this is just a graphical. This is a decoy to throw you off. You just use the graph to answer that question. Number 19, to increase the mean of 7 numbers by 3, by how much would the sum of the 7 numbers have to increase? Well, I know that the answer here is 21. Because if I got 7 numbers and I want the average to go up by 3, then all of them have to go up by 3. So there you go. 7 times 3 is 21. Number 20, in the standard xy coordinate plane, the line with this equation has what slope? Okay, this is definitely a linear function here. So if I put it into y equals mx plus b, I would have to distribute the 3/4. So that would be 6/4 x plus, and I don't really care what that is because that's my slope, 3/2. All right, let me stop it right there. All right, so I am at 4440 remaining. And so I should have probably counted that forward, maybe, so I'll have to do the subtraction here. So I am kind of ahead of schedule here in terms of one question per minute. Any questions? Let's see. I've got 3 people here. All right. I don't see any questions posted on this. We'll grade this thing at the end. But let's go back and see if there's anything I want to comment on. This problem here, I really didn't like this for the fact that I usually, when I'm looking at 2 parallel lines and a transversal, I'm looking at the relative size here when I'm looking at whether they're either, because remember these pairs of angles here between these 2 groups of angles, they're either congruent or they are supplemental. And I usually use the size to be a quick gauge of that. They really threw me off because they made that almost perpendicular, made it a little bit trickier for me. Right. This is just something to know, right? If I'm trying to maximize a product of 2 numbers who I know the sum, I'm trying to get the 2 numbers as close as possible to one another. This also comes up when I've seen some problems on the ACT where they're talking about area and perimeter of a rectangle, and they want to maximize the area. Well, if you want to maximize the area of a rectangle, you want to make it a square, right, which is still a rectangle, but it's a more specific rectangle, a square. That will maximize the area inside. But if they did not say even integers here, this is my point. I think if they didn't say 2 even integers, I would have said 25 times 25. Because if you do 25 times 25, guess what? 625. It's a little bit larger product, but I had to go with 2 even integers, 24 and 26. Now, I do want to, as far as my method on 15, notice I could have just gone with numbers that are in the paragraph, but I find it worth my time to list out the numbers that I'm dealing with, and do it quickly and list out all the numbers that go with the different types of blood. And I'm doing my own thing down here, getting information from here down to here. And also, I'm double checking, right? I double check my work. I don't want to miss one of these first 30 problems, right? You want to nail these and you don't want to make math mistakes. So do it quickly, but then when you think you got your answer, if you can, take a second and go back and see if it makes sense. Or if you did some mental math, maybe quickly spend 5 seconds and check it on your calculator, right? That's going to pay off. You want to nail these first questions on this test. All right. So we're going to start back with 21. Things will maybe start to get a little bit more challenging for me, but let's go for it and see. So here we go. Number 21, a parallelogram has a perimeter. Now, when they say parallelogram, I'm going to draw the parallelogram. Oh, my pen just failed me here. Whoops-a-daisy. I'm losing time here. Oh, my goodness. I'm stuck on an eraser. There we go. I'm going to draw the parallelogram. It has a perimeter of 88 inches, and one of its sides is 18. All right. Well, if that side's 18, then the opposite side has to be 18. And if the perimeter is 88, then that means what's left for the other 2 sides is 88 minus 36, 52. So that has to be split evenly, 26 and 26. So I am going with, right, this is the one they gave me. Those are my other 3 sides. There we go. C, I like that answer. 5 friends play golf at a course that charges both an annual membership fee and a fee to play each round. Each point on the scatter plot below represents the number of rounds each person played during a year and the total fees the golf course charged that person. One of the following values is a fee to play each round. Well, when I look at this, the person who played one round, they looks like they paid $120. The person who played 2 rounds, oh my goodness, it looks like it's smack dab in the middle. So that's 160. So that'd be 150. They paid 150. They paid 120. So $30. It looks like if you go from 1 round to playing 2 rounds, you went from paying 120 to 150 in total fees. It looks like each round was $30. I could check that with another point, but I'm pretty confident I'm going to go with 30. Tomas wants to tile a rectangular floor with square tiles that measure 12 inches on a side. The floor measures 10 feet 6 inches long by 8 feet 6 inches wide. If he's able to cut the tiles without waste, what is the minimum whole number of tiles Tomas needs to completely cover the floor? Okay. And then these are 12 inches. So I'm going to convert these to inches. Okay. Each one of the tiles, let's go with feet. Okay. This is 1 foot. This is 1 foot by 1 foot. So it's 1 square foot. Each tile is. My floor is 10.5 feet, right? 6 inches is half a foot by 8.5. I'm going to do that on my calculator. I'm going to do 10.5 times 8.5. That's the area, 89.25. And each one is 1 square foot. So he needs 89 and a quarter tiles. So he needs to buy 90 tiles. I need to bump that up because he's going to have to get 90 to cover that quarter of a square foot. 24. In the standard XY coordinate plane, triangle ABC is bounded by segment AB, segment AC, and the y-axis. Yep, okay, I see that triangle there. Which of the following values is closest to the area in square coordinate units? Well, area of a triangle I know is 1/2 base times height. I'm going to go with this as being my base, and that is 14 units long from 6 to -8. So that's 14. The height is a perpendicular distance from the opposite vertex of the triangle back down to the side that I declared to be the base. And that distance right there, you have to measure that along the x-axis, and that's 5 units, right? That's a 5 on the x-axis, so that's 5 units. 14 times 1/2 is 7. 7 times 5 is 35. That's 35 would be that. 25. In right triangle JKL, the right angle is at K. The length of JK is 10 cm. Okay. And sine L. Okay. So the right angle is K. I'm going to draw this, right? I'm almost always going to draw my geometry figures. This has to be K. So then I'll go with J and L. That's my right angle. The length of JK is 10. Sine L, here's angle L, is 5 over 11. So 5 over 11. So, and sine is 5. So what's the cosine of J? All right. Now, what would that be? So if it's 5, that means this has to be 22. That has to be 22 because sine is 5 over 11, but that side is twice 5. So that would mean it'd have to be, to maintain the ratio, it would be 10 over 22. You could also write that as a ratio, right? 5 over 11 is opposite over hypotenuse, and my opposite is 10, and that's an x, so it's 22. I have to then use the Pythagorean theorem. So this is going to be 22 squared minus 100. So 22 squared minus 100, 384. Did I do that right? 22 cosine. Oh, cosine of J. Oh my goodness. I just wasted time. Cosine of J is adjacent over hypotenuse. It's 10 over 22. It's 5 over 11. Goodness gracious. 26. John averages 60 miles per hour the 6 hours he travels from his house to Ling's house. On his return trip, John experiences heavy traffic due to construction zones. He averages 36 miles per hour the first 3 hours of his return trip. What's the average speed in miles per hour John must drive for the rest of the return trip for a return trip of 7 hours? My goodness. So he averaged 60 for 6 hours. So that means the distance total is 360 miles that he had to travel. Now, on the return trip, he did 36 times 3, 108 miles, because he averaged 36 miles an hour for 3 miles. That's 108 miles. So how much did he have left? He had 360 minus 108. What is that going to be? That is going to be 252 miles that are remaining in his journey. And he needs to do that in 4 hours because he spent 3 hours traveling that 108 and he's got 4 hours left. So this is 252 divided by 4, I hope. 63. Yeah, he had to have averaged 63 miles per hour on that return for the rest of the return trip there. 27. At Western High School and Eastern High School, 200 students and 100 students respectively were surveyed. So that's Western, that 100 is Eastern, or 7 in terms of their fast food preferences. Each of the 300 students indicated one preference among 5 choices. Okay, so Western these are 200 students represented and 100 students. What's the question? How many students surveyed at Western High School indicated chicken as their preference at Western High School? Okay, well, 200 times 12%. So what is that, 24? I believe that's 24. What am I missing? That's too easy. 200 students at Western, and 12% liked chicken. If it was 100, 12% of 100 would be 12, but there were 200, so 12 and 12 is 24. Okay. 28. What's the measure to the nearest 1 degree of the central angle of the sector that represents the number of students at Western High School who indicated pizza as their preference? Well, pizza was 40%. All right, so the central angle would have to be 40% of the whole 360 degrees. So 0.4 times 360. I'm going to do that on my calculator. 360 times 0.4, 144 degrees is what that has to be. Number 29. The same survey was taken at Central High School, which is a third high school, looks like. The percent of students at Eastern High School who indicated chicken as their preference was one more, the percentage of, was one more percentage point than half the percent of students at Central High School who indicated chicken as their preference. I'm going to skip that for now. I'm going to come back to it. Number 30, Jermaine will build a metal wall sculpture that is composed of 3 circles of different sizes shown below. The smallest circle will have a diameter of 8 inches, and the diameter of the 3 circles will be in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 4. To reinforce the sculpture, Jermaine will place a metal bar from the center of the smallest circle through the center of the middle to what is the length in inches of the bar? Okay, so this is a diameter of 8. Now, so 1 to 2 to 4. Okay, so that would mean these are in a ratio of 2 to 4. So that would mean this would have to be 16, but then that has to be so these are all in a 2 to 1. So that looks like that's 32. So 48, 56. I'm liking 56, but I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about that. I think that's right. All right, I'm going to stop the clock right there. I am at 34 minutes through problem 30. Now, I skipped problem 29. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling that I was going to be able to do that, within 30 seconds. So if you get that feeling that you're just not sure how to proceed and you're making your first pass, it's okay to say, I'm going to circle that one and come back to it. Okay. All right. I still don't see any comments out there from you all. If you had questions about what in the world I was doing on one of these, all you got to do is put the put the problem number on there, and then I'll make some comments on it. But let's see if I want to make a comment about my pacing or my strategies here on these. Right, class students, I just don't do these problems without drawing a picture. Okay, even if it's an XY coordinate plane problem, I coach students all the time. If it's an XY coordinate geometry problem, like I most of the time, if not all the time, I am drawing a sketch of the problem to make spatial sense of it. And I have given you some tips on that too, on how to draw that sketch. Okay, what else here? Thomas, yeah, that one. Notice I had to make a decision here. Did I want to go with inches or feet, right? Because I can't do both, right? I have to go with feet, all feet or all inches here. So for the fact that was 12 inches, which is a foot, and each tile was 1 square foot, it made perfect sense to say, hey, I'm going to say the floor was 10.5 by 8.5. And then that was my number of tiles. And I had to round it up because I had to buy that extra tile to get that 1/4 of a square foot. Okay, that was pretty short. Notice this one. I wasted a little bit of time on this because I made the mistake here of not reading what they wanted me to find, right? I set everything up, drew my picture, but what is the value of cosine J? Cosine J, adjacent over hypotenuse. I started off to find this side and wasted some time, precious time. But hey, that's going to happen, right? That is going to happen when you're taking a test. You're going to catch yourself doing something that maybe you didn't need to do. That's okay. You just got to keep trucking on here. All right. Notice here, I did long multiplication here. 36 times 3. And I did 6 times 3, 18, carried the 1. Right. So if you can do math that way, it's going to be faster than grabbing the calculator and start tapping numbers in. Okay, so I try to do as much math as I can without having to resort to using my calculator. And, the ACT tells you that every one of these problems here can be done without a calculator. And that's why a lot of times if there's a trig question that requires you to take the sine or cosine or tangent of some non-standard angle, they'll give you a table of trig values. If you haven't noticed that, that's kind of what they do. So that technically you could do it without a calculator. All right, so we'll be coming back to number 29. I just wasn't feeling it on that. All right, let's pick up here with number 31. Juan will flip a fair two-sided coin and spin a wheel. The coin has one head side and one tail side. Yeah, that makes sense. The wheel has an equal chance of stopping on any one of the 4 sections, red, blue, yellow, green. What's the probability? The coin lands tail side up and the wheel stops on a green section. Okay, this is and, right? This is an and probability. So I'm doing multiplication. Well, it's going to be 1/2 chance that it lands tails, and it's going to be a 1/4 that it lands on the green, 1/8. That was very easy. Too easy. I'm almost suspect about that. But number 32, the volume of air in liters in the lungs of an average person during normal breathing is a function of time. In seconds, the function is modeled by the sign. One of the volume values is the period in seconds of this function, the period. The period of a sine or a cosine function is the time it takes to go through one cycle, meaning from peak to peak. So this looks like from 5 to 10. So that means it's 5, right? 10 minus 5 is 5, but the period is 5. Number 33, if f of x equals 5 to the x and g of x is -2, then what's negative f of g of x? Okay, well, g of x is -2. So I'm going to substitute that inside the parentheses there. Negative f of -2. That would be negative 5 raised to the -2. 5 to the -2 is 1/25. It's -1/25. 34, in the circle shown below, C is the center. Segment AB is a diameter. Segment CD is a radius of length 10. Yep. and that is perpendicular to AB. Which of the following values is close to the area of the shaded region, the combined area? Okay, so the shaded region, it looks like I got to find the area of half of the circle. That's going to be pi r squared over 2. The radius is 10, so that's 100 pi over 2. But then I have to add this. That's so that's 10 times 10, but times a half, right? The area of that triangle, 1/2 base times height, so that's 50. So I would tack on 50. That's approximately 300, 150. So it's 207. 207. All right, notice what I did there. I'm going to pause it right there for a second. Okay, so I did a semicircle. Pi r squared is the circle area. But half of that would be dividing it by 2. Now, they're talking about, closest to the area. So this is an approximation. And I know pi is a little more than 3, of course. So that's 100, 300 divided by 2 is 150. And then this was 50. So it's 200. But it's a little more than 200 because pi is a little more than 3. So I'm going with 207. I feel totally confident in that because 236 is too far away. It's too far away. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong on that. I'm going to go with that. All right, let's keep rolling on here. 35. During one of their routines, the Longsboro High School marching band members line up in a succession of L-shaped formations. The first 4 formations, numbers 1 through 4, are shown below with each dot representing a band number. The pattern demonstrated by the addition of band numbers, the first 4 formations continues through each successive L-shaped formation in the routine. Which of the following equations gives the relationship between n, the formation number, and b, the number of band members? Well, here b is equal to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B is equal to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. B is equal to 9. All right, so this is what we call an arithmetic sequence that's going up by 2. I am going to do this class. I'm going to write the equation for the arithmetic sequence. It starts at 5. It's going up by 2. So that's basically the formula right there. So I would then say that this is 5 plus 2n minus 2. So I'm going with 2n plus 3 right there. 36, a better cellular company offers customers 2 monthly plans. Plan A costs $40 per month plus 5, 40 plus 5 cents per minute. So plan A, they're charging them 40, but then plus 5 cents for every minute where X is the minutes. Plan B is 20, but then they're charging them 10 cents every minute. What is the least whole number of minutes a customer could use in 1 month to make plan A less expensive, italicized, than plan B? So I want A less than B, which means I want 40 plus 0.05x is less than 20 plus 0.10x. I'm going to solve that for x. My goodness. I'm going to move the 20 over to the left. I'm going to move that over to make that 0.05x. I believe that that's 400, but I am going to check this. 20 divided by 0.05 is 400. So I'm going to write this out. 400x has to be greater than 400. Has to be greater than. They said less expensive, not less than or equal to, less expensive. So my answer, so greater than 400 means has to be 401. That's going to trip students up. That's a 401. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to the 4th root of 81x to the 16th? So that's 81x to the 16th raised to the 1/4 power. 81 is 3 to the 4th, right? So that is a perfect fourth root, fourth power. So that's a 3, and then 16 times, so that'd be 3x to the 4th, B. 38. A pyramid has a square base with a side length of 6 feet. So we're talking about a pyramid that's kind of doing this number, 6 feet. volume is 144. What's the height? There's the formula. So formula is 1/3 big B H. Now, yeah, base area. So that's 36. So 1/3 times 36 times H, but they told me the volume. It's 144. So I put that in for V. 1/3 times 36 is 12. So H is 12. Height is 12G. And let's see, checking that. They wanted the height. Yes. So if that's 12, 3 goes in 12, 4, 4. Yeah. Okay. So that checks out, I think. All right. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm not going to use my calculator on this. That would take way too long. This is when I'm adding one, I'm just matching the denominator. This is 3/3. So this is 4/3. 1/4 is 3/4. So this whole thing is 3/4. 1 plus 3/4 would be 4/4 plus 3/4. That's 7/4. Flipping it right here is 4/7. So this should be that. And that's 7/7, right? 1 is 7, 11, so 7/11. 7/11. Man, I think I got that right. 4/3, 3/3 and 1/3, 4/3, but then I flip it 3/4, 7/4. Yeah, I like that. Okay. What are the real? What are all the real solutions to the equation? Absolute value 1 minus 2x equals 3. When you're dealing with an absolute value, I am going to break this up into two equations. 1 minus 2x is equal to 3, but then a negative 1 minus 2x is equal to 3. I'm going to solve this by subtracting 1, and then that gives me x equals -1. Or then I'm going to move that negative to the other side. I will subtract 1, -2x equals -2x equals 1. I'm going 1 and -1. I'm going to check that to make sure that that's right. If x is 1 right here, 1 minus, if x is 1, 1, all of a sudden I don't like that. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? -3, 1 minus 2x, -2. Oh my goodness. No, x equals 1. Yes, 1. But 1 minus 2 is a -1, and that doesn't look like it's the right answer. Why? Okay, I'm going to come back to it. All right, we're going to stop right there. All right, we're 25 minutes left. I've got 20 questions left, but 2 that I have skipped over. Okay, I'm not going to cheat and look at that anymore. I'm going to try to save some time and come back to that. I did what I thought was the right solution there, and then I went and checked my answer, and I didn't like it, but I shouldn't have any extraneous solutions, so I'm a little bit perplexed there. All right, I got 2 of you still hanging in there with me. Now, if you're watching this on a replay, be sure to hit the like button if you're finding some value in this, to let me know that you watched it and that you thought it was good and helpful. And also you can leave any comments down below. And again, at the end of this, when I get done with this test and we grade it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a few more suggestions for you to do tomorrow before the test, including what things you want to study leading up to the test on Saturday. Comments. I know we're about an hour into the stream here, but hopefully you can hang in there with me till the end. But let's go back and see. I think like there was one thing I wanted to make a comment on. Okay. Now notice here on 36, as soon as I had an idea of what was going on with this pricing plan, you know, a fixed fee per month plus a variable rate, I went ahead and wrote that expression. Okay. And then, you know, they italicize this, less expensive. They want you to, you know, hey, this is an inequality problem. It's an inequality problem. You had to understand that so that you could get to this point and then go one higher than that, right? Because the minimum number would have to be one higher than 400. 400 is not a solution to this inequality, but 401 would be the first one. This one right here, 35. if you run into the two types of sequences that you can run into on the test, one of them is what we call an arithmetic sequence, which means that you start with a number where we did here 5 band members, and then we went up by a constant difference. We call it the common difference. And that makes it arithmetic. I'm adding the same number as I go from term to term. And here's the form that I'm using, right? This is something that you want to have in your mind when it comes to arithmetic sequences. That is it's what we call the explicit formula for an arithmetic sequence. This is the nth term of the sequence. You supply the first term and the common difference, and that gives you the equation for any of the terms within the sequence. And that's exactly what I did. Here was the first term, 5, and then here was the common difference of 2. But notice they didn't leave this in the form here. They distributed the common difference and then combined like terms. So I had to do that. Where'd my answer go? I must have erased it, but it was 2n plus 3. That was what my answer was there. All right, so this is definitely something that you want to have committed to memory. And while I'm at it, I will also tell you another formula that is a good idea to know, and that's the sum of the first n terms of an arithmetic sequence. You add the first term and the last term that you're adding together times the number of terms and then divide by 2. That's probably hit in a couple of your math classes. Algebra 2, maybe, I don't know. All right, we're going to pick it up with 41. Let's see what I can do. I'm starting to get a little weary here at 9:30. Almost my bedtime. No, not really. I'm usually up maybe at least till 10:30. No, I'm just kidding. Usually till 11 or so. All right, here we go. 41. For what value of A would the following system of equations have an infinite number of solutions? Well, if a system has an infinite number of solutions, that means that they are the same equation. So I can just multiply this top equation by 2, and that becomes 4x minus 6y equals 12. And so definitely A has to be equal to 4 so that I would get a match there. 42, in the equation ax plus b equals 0, when a, x, and b are integers and x and b are positive, what does a have to be? Oh my goodness. Well, if b is positive and x is positive, a has to be negative to cancel that out to get to 0. So I don't like those two answers. This is a class where I am going to pick numbers here. I'm going to let A be negative 2. I'm going to let x be a positive 2, and I'm going to let b equal 5, say. So then what would this become? This would be negative 2. No, wait a minute. What do I want to do here? Let's suppose it was negative 2 times 2 and then plus 4 equals 0. All right, now, so here is my A. So A, does it have to be a factor or a multiple? What if this was a 4? If that was a 4, then this would have to be, a positive 8. And so A has to be I'm going with, oh boy, this is a factor or a multiple. Yeah, I believe it has to be a factor. I'm not too sure. We may want to revisit that if we have time. 43, given the complex numbers of 2 minus I and 2 plus I, which of the following expressions is equal to this? Well, I need to FOIL that, right? So, but those are conjugates. So that's going to be 4 minus I squared, but I squared is a negative 1. So that's 5 square root of 5. 44, which of the following fractions is closest to 0? All right, I'm going with decimals. I'm going to put these all into decimal form. Some of these I know. 0.5. Oh my goodness. 1 divided by 6. I think I know, but I'm going to check it. So this is a negative negative 0.1667 and 3 over 20. Why do I not know what 3 divided by 25 is? But now I know it is 0.12. Now there's some positives and some negatives. We're really just comparing the absolute values of these because the closest to 0 could be positive or negative. Which one's closest to? So definitely not that. No, because that's higher. It looks like this one is, right? 0.12 is less than those two numbers there. So that would be my number. A spin of a certain spinner has 5 possible outcomes. The table below shows the probability of spinning each of the 5 outcomes. The probability of spinning outcome 4 is A, and the probability of spinning outcome 5 is 2A. What is the value of A? Well, in a probability distribution that we have here, they all have to add up to 1. So this is 0.58 when I add that. When I add 0.24, that's going to be 0.82. So these have to add together to be 0.18. A plus 2A is 3A. It's 0.18. I'm going with 0.06. 0.18 divided by 3. 46, the quadrants of the standard XY coordinate plane are shown below. The vertices of ABC negative. All right, I'm going to plot these. Negative 3 and 3 is right here. Negative 3 and 1 would be here. And negative 1 would be right here. Negative 1 1 would be right there. The triangle is translated by this, meaning go right 5 and down 2. So if I go right 5 and down 2, this point is going to be still in the first quadrant because it only went down 2. These other 2 points are going to be down in the fourth quadrant. First and fourth quadrants is where those vertices are going to lie. All right, 47 looks like a oblique triangle line of the law of sines or cosines. The figure below shows a map of Jennifer's neighborhood. Which following expressions represents the straight line distance in miles from Jennifer's home to the school? I'm trying to find this. That's 50, which means I would know that that's 130. And that's the only angle I know here, the 130. Right? I don't know these others. So I can't use, can I use the law of sines? No, to use the law of sines right here, to use that, which is preferred, it's easier than the law of cosines. I have to have an angle inside my triangle, and I have to know the side opposite. But I don't know these other angles opposite the known sides, so I cannot use law of sines. So definitely A and B are out. If I'm going to use this law of cosines, this is the side that I'm looking for. So x squared would be equal to 4 squared plus 6 squared. Using this formula down here, I already have it committed to memory, but minus 2 times 4 times 6. And then I would multiply that by the cosine of the angle opposite the side that I'm solving for. That's cosine of 130. All right, sorry for my sloppy handwriting there, but let's see if we have a match here. And I would be square rooting that to solve for the side. Well, it's this one. It's E because it's the only one that has the right angle, cosine of 130. 48, the graph below shows the function f of x equals 2x. Okay, so which the following is an equation of the horizontal asymptote. You need to know horizontal asymptotes. There it is. It is the ratio of the 2/7. So there it is because I have a matching degree top and bottom. 49, for any ellipse, well, they give me this up here. The ellipse shown below, AC is the major axis, yes, with length 16 feet. So they show me that that's 8. Minor axis, length 12. So half of that is 6 right there. Point F lies on the side BC with length 12. And E is this. Point F lies on BC of the inscribed rhombus. So that is a rhombus. For any ellipse, the area is pi AB, where A and B are half the length. Okay, so what is the area of the shaded region? So I need to find the area of the ellipse using this. That would be 48 pi. Pi times A times B. A is 6 and 8. And then now I need to know the formula for the area of a rhombus. The area of a rhombus, right? Oh my goodness. I've never used this, I don't think, on an ACT exam, is 1/2 the product of the two diagonals, D1, D2. And the diagonals are 12 and 16. So that's 1/2, 12 times 16. 8, oh my goodness. So that's 96, right? That 1/2 of 16 is 8. 8 times 12, 96. Is that it? Yes. Okay. You could also have found the area of, these are all right triangles inside the rhombus. So you could have also calculated the area of one of those triangles and multiply it by 4. Number 50, which following expressions gives the measure of angle EBC? Angle EBC, they want this. I got an opposite and an adjacent, 8 and 6. So tangent 8. This angle, its tangent. Tangent of that angle is 8/6. Tangent of the angle that I'm looking for is 8/6. So the arctangent is x, 4/3. So it would be j. Okay, I'm going to stop the clock. All right, so I've got 16 minutes left, and I've got 10 questions left. All right. Still no questions. I got 2 of you still hanging in here with me. So that's great. No questions, but let's see. Here, right, you got to know law of sines and cosines. They will always give you the formulas, though. I can't say very many times I've seen them make you choose between the two. Usually it's one of the other, law of sines or cosines. Here you had a little bit more challenging because you had to know which one would be the right one, right? And again, what I was saying as I was working this problem is that the law of sine is something that you use when, the only time that you can use it is when you know one of the angles inside your triangle and the side that's opposite. If you don't have that pair somewhere in the triangle, you can't use law of sines. Have to be law of cosines to find one of the sides or angles. Yeah, this is called a probability distribution, right? If you have an event with 5 outcomes, okay, the probabilities, this is what we call the sample space, right? This is all the possible outcomes. Well, all the probabilities have to add to 1. That's the idea right there. Right? I don't know if I mentioned that these are absolute values, right? We were comparing absolute values here. You can't say closest. Yeah, this isn't smallest, right? It's closest 0, meaning the distance from 0, and distance is always positive, right? We don't consider it to be a negative or positive. So we're comparing absolute values there. Yeah, this one, yeah, that's one we're going to come back to. I'm not going to cheat and look at that anymore, but. And 40. Okay, so there's another one that we got to come back to. All right, so 9:45, get close to my bedtime. All right, 51 is where we start, which is still on the ellipse problem. This was a 3-question stem here. So 51, the eccentricity of an ellipse is a measure of the flatness of the ellipse. The eccentricity of a circle is 0. The value of E is given by this, where A and B are half lengths. I mean, which of the following intervals contains the value of E for this ellipse? Okay, this is just plug and chug, right? This is square root A is the major axis here. Okay, major, yeah, A is major, so that's 8. So this is 8 squared. Minus the 6 squared. So 8 squared minus 6 squared all over 8. I think I'm going to just, these answers are in decimals over there, so I'm going to have to get the calculator out and say, I'm going to go with the square root of 64 minus 36 is that, and then I'm going to divide it by 8. It's 0.66. It looks like it's going to be between 0.6 and 0.8. 52, given the recursive formula below, which of the following equations is a correct explicit formula for the sequence? So if my first term is 10, my next term is twice the previous term. Okay, that is a geometric sequence. Okay, that is geometric because we are multiplying by 2 to get the next term. This sequence goes like this. Then if that's 10, then it goes 20, 40, 80, etc. Now, so these are not, those are linear. They're not geometric. Geometric is exponential. And so it comes down between these. What I'm going to do is say, well, this is n equals 1. That's n equals 2. Let's go with n equals 2. If n equals 2, that would be 4. 4 plus 9. No, that's not it. If n is equal to 2, then that would be 2 squared is 4. 4 times n is 40. No, I'm supposed to get 20. So k is it. Because when n is 2, I'm going to get the right term of 20. Right? 10 times 2 would be 20. 53, a toddler has 2 sets of blocks. The blocks within each set are equal-sized cubes. The blocks within one set are smaller than the blocks within the other set. The edge length of each smaller block is 1/2 the edge length of each larger block. How many of the smaller blocks must be stacked together to create an arrangement with the same volume as one larger block? Okay, so you've got these blocks. We'll just call this 2. 2 by 2 by 2. That means that the smaller block would be 1 by 1 by 1. So this volume is 8, right? This is a volume problem. These are 8 cubic units. This would be 1 cubic units. So if this volume is 1 while this volume is 8, then it would take 8 of these to stack inside. I'm going with 8 right there. 54, what's the determinant of the matrix? I did a video on this this week on matrices. The determinant of a matrix, in fact, I did this exact problem. This is found by taking the diagonal multiplications and subtracting them. So it is that's what's called the determinant. That's 120 minus 160, right? So that's a negative 40. 55. I didn't start the timer. Oh my goodness. I cheated. Oh well. 55. A whole number from 1 through 150 will be painted on each of the 150 parking spaces in a new parking lot. Each number will be painted using a minimum number of digits. For example, for space 15, 2 digits, 1 and 5 will be painted. And for the first 15 spaces, a total of 21 digits will be painted. In total, how many digits will be painted for all 150 parking spaces? Boy, I tell you, I would almost skip this because this looks like a lot of work. But if I'm going I'm going to go parking lot spaces 1 through 9. Okay, 1 through 9. They all have 9. They all have 1 digit, so I've got 9 total digits. Okay, then I'm going parking spots 10 through 19, and then 20 through 29. Oh my goodness. All the way down to 99 are going to have 2 digits. Now, how many parking spaces is that? From 99 to 10 inclusive is 90 parking spots. Okay, and those have 2 digits. So that's 180 digits. I think I'm doing this right. But then when I get to 100 to 150 are going to require 3 digits. And there are 100 to 150 is, let's see. So, no, wait a minute. I'm messing this up. 90, I'm going from 10 to 99. That's 100. Sorry, 99 minus 10 is 89. Add 190. I did that right. So 150 minus 100 is 50 plus 51. So that's 51 times 3. So that's 153 digits because each one of those parking spots is 3. So I'm going to add these up. Well, I don't know. I'm just feeling uncomfortable about this one. So I'm adding 153 and 180 and 9. I got 342. Okay, I'm going with 342. 56. How many seating arrangements are possible for 5 people to sit in 5 seats of a car if one person sits in each seat and only 3 of the 5 could sit in the driver's seat? Right. So as I've shown you, as I've coached you, right, these are my 5 seats. And I only have, though, 3 options here. Only 3 people could occupy the driver's seat. That would leave me 4 here, 3 here, 2 here, 1 here. These all get multiplied. 12. 3 times 4 is 12, times 3 is 36, times 2 is 72. I'm going with 72. 57, let x be an odd integer greater than 1, and let b equal x minus 1. The log equation log b of a equals x is true. Which following phrases describes every value of a? Boy, that sounds like an SAT question. I'm going to have to pick numbers here. I'm going to let x be 3, and therefore b would be 2. And then I'm going to construct this and say log base 2 of a is equal to 3. If I exponentiate this, I get a is equal to 8. A would have to be equal to 8. So it can't be 0, right? There's no way that it could be 0 because that's not even in the domain of. Wait, is it x log? Okay, so we're looking for values of a. Oh my goodness, we're looking for values of a. Yeah, I can't take log of 0, so those guys are already out. Even, I'm going with even and non-zero. I got an even number out here. I'm gonna try another number. I'm gonna let x equal 4, in which case b would be 3. So this would be log of x has to be an odd integer. Sorry, 5, which would make this then 4, right? So this would be log base 4 of a is equal to x, and x is 5. So a is, when I exponentiate with 4, raise 4 power on both sides, a is 4 to the 5th. 4 raised to the 5th power. Now it's going to be an even number, even and non-zero. E, I'm going with E. 58, quadrilateral ABCD in the standard XY coordinate plane has 4 vertices, which describes this parallel. So I'm going to sketch this, right? So I definitely going to sketch this. 0, 6, that's point A. Negative 1, 1, right there, is B. C is 3, 1. And then D is 3, 6. Wow, look at this. Okay, that is a vertical line. These two are horizontals. That is not. Okay, that has to be a trapezoid because these two lines are parallel, or those two lines are horizontal, which means they are parallel. But these two sides are not parallel, right? Right here, those I didn't need to put that mark there, but those are not parallel sides because one's vertical and one's not. So it's definitely a trapezoid. Is it so it's either K or H. It's not isosceles because there's no way that those two lengths are the same. So it's a non-isosceles trapezoid. In the polynomial expansion of x plus y raised to the 5th, what is the coefficient of x squared y to the 3rd? So what we could do is we could do Pascal's triangle here. The x squared y to the 3rd. So or we could do a binomial calculation, but let's do this. So this is going to be, so Pascal's triangle is going to look like this, I believe. 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. All right, and we're talking about x to the 5th. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would have to be the coefficients. This would be the x to the 5th, y to the 0. This would be x to the fourth, y to the first, x to the third, y to the second, x to the second, 10. It's going to be 10. All right, Meg has a bucket of plastic balls. Exactly 20% of these balls are yellow. So I've got yellow at 20%. Okay, that means white, the rest 80%. Some of the balls have a star in them. Exactly 6% of the balls are yellow. Exactly 6% all of the balls are yellow and have a star on them. Okay, so 6% of the balls are yellow. Okay. All right, so 6% also yellow and star. Okay. Meg is randomly going to draw a ball from the bucket. If the ball drawn is yellow, right, conditional probability, I'm only considering, I already know that it's yellow. What's the probability that we'll have a star on it? I'm thinking that this is 6% over 20%. Because this is of the ball, all the balls, 6% are yellow and star. So I believe this is 6 over 20. So which is 3 over 10. I'm going with K, that this would be the probability, 30%. 30%. All right, I got some time. I probably, good thing I cheated. I think I've got, and didn't start the stopwatch there. Let's go back to the ones that I did not finish. I was okay with this one. No, I wasn't okay with this one, but I want to go back to this one in particular. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just try -1. Does -1 solve this? -1 does solve this. Okay, does 1 solve it? 1, when I plug a 1 in there, no. So 1 doesn't solve it. Does a 2 solve it? 1 minus 4 is -3. Yeah, 2 solves it. I think that's it. I don't know why. I don't know what I did here. I don't know. How did I mess this up? So this was a -3. Oh my goodness, that's a -4. That's an x is equal to 2. I did, see? There it is. So, but J is my answer there. All right, let's see what else we've got back here. Wasn't there another one that I skipped? Yeah, 29. This was the Central High School. The percentage of students at Eastern, I'm going to get rid of this here, who indicated chicken as their preference was 1 more than 0.5% of the students at Central who indicated chicken. Okay, so let's go to Central High School. Central High School, chicken was 12%. So 6% is 1/2 of that. 6%. So 6% plus 1 more person. The percentage of students who indicated chicken preference was 1 more. So they're still talking about a percentage. Okay, so that's 7%. What percent of students at Central High School indicated chicken as their preference? Wow. 7% is not one of my answers. The percentage of students at Eastern High School who indicated chicken as their preference was 1 more than 0.5% of students at Central High School who indicated chicken. Central, chicken, 12%. Wait a minute. What am I doing wrong here, students? At Central. Oh. Okay, the percentage of at Eastern was 1 more. So these are Eastern. Oh, I'm looking over here at Eastern. So chicken was 5%. Okay. It was 1 more than half the percentage. So that would mean that 10, 9. It looks like 9%. It'd have to be 9%. Because if Central was 9% and Eastern was 1 more than half, and they were, no, that's not right either. Their chicken is 5%. So 1 more than half at Central. So if Central was 12, 1/2 is 6. That would mean 7 for Eastern. No. Okay. And so then if we go with 9, 8, and then cut that in half, No, that doesn't. Something is really strange here. So 9 was one more than half the percentage of central. It has to be an even number. So 8%, 4, 5. Yeah, it has to be 8%. That's central. That would get me to 5%. Okay. I'm iffy on that one too. Getting late here. Were there any other unanswered ones? I think we got them all. All right. Hang with me here. I still got 2 of you live hanging in there. I hope I have more that watch this on the on demand after this thing posts. I think I've got my answer key, and I'm going to pull it up here if I can. This is the Z08. And there we go. So let's go back up here to number 1. I'll try to make this as quick as I can because class, I want you to listen to the last pieces of advice that I have for you. So this goes AFBG, yes. Starting 5, BGCJ, BGCJ. Number 9, BHBJ, BHBJ. Starting at 13, DKEF, DKEF. 17, AHDG, AHDG. Starting at 21, it's CGBH, CGBH. 25, AJCK, AJ. Oh man, here we go. Yeah, CK. Okay, here's the one. 29, CGAK. Yep, G 30 does not look right. I remember I said I didn't feel good about that. C 31, AK, and 33, CHCK, CHCK, 37, BG, CJ, B, 37, BG, CJ, that looks good. 41, it goes BFEF, B, 41, BFEF. 45 is AJEJ, AJE, yes, J, yeah. All right, 49, DJDK, DJDK. 53, AFEJ, AFEJ. 57, EKDK, EKDK. All right, so boy, we got to figure out what happened on this one. 30. 8, and the diameters of 3 circles being in the ratio, the diameters are in the ratio 1, 2 to 4. So it looks like whatever the first one is, this has to be doubled and then doubled. Oh my goodness. This diameter is 32, but it's only half of the diameter there. Look. And that's only half of the diameter. So this is a 4. That's 16, and that's 16. Is that G 30? Is G, they got me. Okay. I did have the right diameters. That diameter, 8, 16, and 32, but those 2 circles were half the diameter. Okay. All right. I hope you found that. Interesting. So now we'll wrap this up. I'll be as quick as I can here, students. The last things that I wanted to mention to you as far as tips. Let me go through. All right. So I first started off talking about what to pack. Right. Be sure to pack some snacks, and make sure you've got plenty of pencils. Got to have an eraser. Got to have your calculator charged up. Got to have your ID. All of that stuff. If you've taken this test before, you know the drill. Right. Don't stay up all night studying. That's going to be counterproductive. You want to get a good night's sleep. and a decent breakfast in the morning. I want you to think about your pacing strategy. The students that I coach, I do recommend a 2-pass strategy, right? Where you go through the test, and when you encounter a problem on your first pass that you don't know how to proceed, or you think it's going to be extra long, you're going to skip it. The idea is to get through the entire test and answer as many as you can within 30 minutes. Now, you'll notice in my case here, I kind of, that's not my pacing strategy, because I'm trying to get every one of these questions right, and I can do it fast, and I go fast. But what you don't want to happen, right? You don't want to happen is you don't want to run out of time and you didn't get a chance to look at like the last 10 problems or the last 5 problems. If you look at this test and we take a realistic look at the last 10 problems, and imagine if you didn't get to these last 10 problems. I will say 60 was kind of tough. 59 was tough too, because if you didn't remember Pascal's triangle, that would be tough. But 58 is an easy one. If you go ahead and take the time and sketch it, you can figure out what shape that is, and you would have missed out on that point. 57 was a tough one. 56, if you know counting, the fundamental counting theorem here, this is really super simple, right? You don't want to leave these easy ones on the table without having a chance to answer them. So that's why I say you've got to move through this test quickly, skipping the ones that you don't know, so you get your eyes on every single one of the tests. But you want to think about what your strategy is going to be for that. I want to mention something about what else to take for the test. You should have a watch with you. I don't know. I have just heard students tell me that there wasn't a convenient clock for them to watch. So if you do use a watch, it has to be old style, right? You can't be taking your Apple Watch into this test. So leave that at home. But you just have to have a standard watch. So you can go buy one at Walmart, I don't know, probably with inflation, maybe more than $10. But they used to be, really cheap at Walmart, just a regular old watch. I would recommend that. Okay, now as far as practice, right? What should you be doing? If you're going to be doing any practice tomorrow before the test, what I would recommend doing is taking a look at any of your work that you've done and looking at your mistakes, right? You want to look at errors that you've made on previous practice tests. If you're one of my students, as you're watching this either live or watching it streamed on YouTube on demand, and you're one of my students, there's practice tests that you have in your tutoring notebook that you could log in and go look at. And you would want to look at those practice tests and look at the problems that you missed and why you missed them. Also, there are some practice problems that I've had you work on that you could find also in your tutoring notebook, and you could look at those. So you want to look at questions, say, why did I miss it? How could I have gotten this right? Was there a formula that I didn't know? Something along those lines, right? Diagnosing where your mistakes were, and that's going to be something to focus on. So review your practice test errors for sure would be one thing that you could do. Now, if you do have time tomorrow, since you have a whole day yet before the test, you could do a practice test, right? That would be something I would do if I had, I wouldn't do it tomorrow night at like 9 p.m., but if you could in the morning do a practice test and check your answers and then go back and diagnose your errors and grade them, that would be awesome. Now, in the link to this video on YouTube, there's a couple of links there to practice tests. Let's see. There's some cheat sheets. I think I'm going to mention those. Oh yeah, I'm going to mention them here. So one thing you could do, I posted some links to some good cheat sheets that are out there on the internet. And by cheat sheets, I mean either summaries of concepts or formulas or a combination of both. You could look through those and see, what things maybe you remember that you don't remember that you need to study. So you could take a look at those cheat sheets. But also there's a link there to a website where there's like almost every practice test that's been released by ACT in the last 10 years. The answers are not there, but you can always find the answer to one of the official released ACT tests by just Googling, right? You can Google ACT practice test Z28, if that's the test number. And there's a few websites out there. I think, I don't remember what the name of the site, Test Prep or Prep Pro or something. There's a website that has when you Google it, it'll go to their website and you'll see the answer key to all the practice tests. So you should not have any problem at all finding the answer keys to the practice tests that I have hyperlinked down in the description for this video. So you can do that. Okay. That is about it, class. And good luck to you. You know, I always tell students, very few students that I'm working with, that it's like this is the last chance, right? Usually you're a junior and you still, if you don't hit the goal that you're shooting for, you got another test down the road. In fact, there's one in July for the ACT. And very few times in life are you going to have like a second or third shot at a really important test. So look, you know, keep your stress level low. Don't worry about it. Just go in and do the very best you can. Try to be focused. And, you know, when I work through a practice test like this and I'm in test mode, my brain is just kind of operating at at kind of a higher frequency. It's just time seems to compress. You know, you want to get in that zone. That's why practice tests are so important, right? You want to practice getting yourself into that zone where you're just like working through the problems and getting answers and checking answers and going fast. And try to do that tomorrow if you have time. But once you get into the zone in the test, man, you're going to do fine. And I wish you all the best of luck. If you're one of my students, especially, I am pulling for you, and I know you're going to do great. All right. Well, I do thank you for showing up. If you came in here for the live session, or if you're watching this, streaming it on my YouTube channel, I sure do appreciate it. If you did find this of value, be sure to hit the like button. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel because I will be putting out more content throughout the summer and into the fall. I am going to, if you're taking Calc AB next year, I'm going to put a series of videos. In fact, I'm going to do some live streams on how to prepare for Calc AB, because Calc AB can be a class that changes your life, literally, because you could really open your eyes to a whole new realm of math and how it applies to science and engineering and technology and all of that good stuff. And you might see your pathway into a certain career. But you want to be ready for Calc AB. It's a rigorous course. It's a new dimension of math that you haven't really considered. And if you're ready for it and prepared, it can be a really fun, exciting class. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, have a good night, and I will see you later. And again, appreciate it. Have a good night. Bye.